I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, but I never quite knew how to approach it. And to be honest, I was afraid to share this. Today, I'm going to talk about starting an art business and the reality of that. And I'm also going to share some tips for the people who are at the start of their journey in making money as an artist. Welcome back to Pencils and Stories. My name is Henrike and I make and teach comics. If you want to make comics as well, subscribe to the channel for more videos. A little bit of a backstory. I have an art business. I chose to go the route of teaching because that's something next to making comics that I absolutely love to do. I've been keeping a blog since 2012, sharing my journey in getting back into making comics and the productivity side of all of that, and me learning more about art and about story, and I've loved to do that. It's also why I have this YouTube channel now. Helping other people make comics is something that I absolutely love to do. So that's the route that I took. And I've only decided to really focus on making comics as what they call a niche, which is basically just a very specific thing that you talk about all the time. The thing that you're known for is your niche. I've chosen the niche of making comics only a few years ago, actually. Before that, I helped people make their personal projects, which is very vague and maybe a little confusing as well. Eventually, I chose to be much more specific. What kind of personal projects? Comics. So that is how I niched down, as they say. And I have created 2 courses, a live mentored course that I taught one time, and I have a self-study course called How to Start a Comic. In the live course, I will take people in 10 weeks through the entire comic process by making a little short comic. And How to Start a Comic you can apply to any single comic out there, short, very long comics. You can use the self-study course for that and develop your comic by going through all of the lessons. And I love my courses. I personally think they're valuable and I love to have more people. But this is the part where it gets hard. I'm still in the beginning stages of my journey. I'm still building my audience. I'm building my YouTube channel. I'm building my social media channel. I'm building my email list. The problem is last year, I almost did nothing except making a course because I was ill. I've talked about it in other videos. And I just couldn't really create anything. I do have a day job. That day job constantly takes priority, which means that eventually my comic was put on hiatus. And last year I hardly made any videos and hardly did any social media, which means that my business growth stagnated. Like in 2020, I made a video every single week and I just grew steadily on YouTube. And then it was like a year of just not being able to do anything, which was really, really frustrating. The good thing about an online business and more passive income, as they call it, I don't necessarily think that true passive income is a thing because you always need to work at it. You always need to do customer support and promote your things. So I don't really think that's a thing. But having an online business and more passive income would have been great, especially the last 2 years because of all the lockdowns. I'm a freelancer in my day job as well. So with every single lockdown, there was no work for me to do. So I had a problem. I felt that really badly in my bank account and I was already recovering from some medical issues the year before. And then 2021 came and I became ill and I had to do another day job because it was still not really stable with the other day job. So I did a temporary other job and I had a really hard time putting in the hours. So it all was really tough. And I'm not saying that having an online business will always be easy. That's absolutely not the case. With more passive income, you can actually afford to get sick. And that would have been a really great advantage of having the online business, having more passive income. But also, it's my dream. I really want to do something related to art full time. I've always felt so at home in the art world every single time I attend anything that remotely has to do with art. I just feel so at home and I really want to do something with that. I want to make that my job. I can talk about comics and art and stories forever. The last few years have been really tough to work towards that dream. That can get frustrating. And I've been wanting to share more about having an art business and going through all of that. But I'm also really afraid of coming across as desperate because I do really want you to get my courses, to watch my videos, because you honestly believe that it's helpful and that it helps you make comics. So that's why I was really hesitant to share. But also I wanted to be honest about this, because being patient while building a business or an art business is one of the hardest things of starting, I believe. It hardly ever goes super fast unless you already have a lot of connections or clients or whatever, or you have been building your audience for a really long time and then you decided to jump into the art business side of things. And that time that it takes can lead you to actually sometimes feel like a failure, feel like an imposter. And it certainly did that for me sometimes. If you are in a position where you're starting your business, know that you're not alone. There's all kinds of people going through the same thing. The reasons for feeling like an imposter is because my comic is on hiatus. My YouTube channel was on hiatus for last year. And I just really felt like, what kind of comic teacher am I if I'm not making comics? Because it's still, some days it's really hard to be creative. It's really hard to write. It's really hard to draw. Drawing is one of the last hurdles that I'm still trying to overcome. Like after last year, with all of the brain fog, it was really, really hard. And it's something that I'm still trying to get back into my life again. This all sometimes feels like it hurts my credibility as a teacher online. That's the biggest reason why I didn't dare to talk about this for a while. I know how to make comics. I know that the stuff that I made and the courses that I made is valuable. I know I can teach you how to make a comic because I've been having the same struggles that a lot of my students have had in starting a comic and how to go about all of that. And I've struggled through all of that. I've learned more about art, about story, about productivity, about comics. And I have slowly gone through that and actually made a webcomic. But I don't have a large amount of students yet. One of my dreams to have a really active Discord where people are discussing things and getting feedback and slowly seeing their comics come together. That would be amazing. So I do want people to make comics. I do want people who now not know how to make comics to go and make them and tell their stories so we can have more stories out in the world. That's absolutely my dream. And I want to make that happen. So that's what I'm working towards. Let's go back a little bit, and that's where I'm starting to get into the tips. I felt like my course was failing sometimes because it's a little bit quiet. But is it really? And for that, we need to look at numbers. And that's my tip number one. Keep looking at the data. Because there's a statistic that if you have an email list with a certain number of people, only 1 to 3% of those people are going to buy from you. That means that if you have a small following, you shouldn't expect super large numbers. That's unless everything you do is so amazing that people cannot help but to buy. Unless you're an outlier, that's not happening. So you shouldn't expect everybody that follows you to buy or everybody's on your email list to buy. You really cannot expect that. So when I look at those numbers for my business, the amount of people that are on my email list, when I look at my launches, every single time I did a launch for How to Start a Comic, my course, I smashed that number. So that tells me that my business is actually not failing and that my course is actually something that people want to buy. The problem is eyeballs and audience. And it truly is a numbers game. So your business might feel very slow, but it might actually be doing what it's supposed to be doing. You might actually, for how far you are along in your audience growth, you might actually be doing really well, even though it doesn't feel like that. So always keep looking at the numbers, keep watching the data to be a little bit more objective about how your business is really doing. Keep building the main platform that you're on and building your email list, sending people from those platforms to an email list, which is really important. My second tip is to not compare yourself to people who are much further ahead in their journey. This ironically counts both for business, but also for art. You cannot compare yourself to people who have been at this years longer than you, who have maybe more experience. I know that there's a lot of business gurus out there and they all make it out that it's all super easy and it goes super fast, and you can start to feel like a failure if your business isn't growing in 6 months to 12 months. But that's not how it works for most people. You need to prove yourself online. You need to show your audience that you're trustworthy and consistent, and you eventually just need to grow your audience. You need to get the eyeballs. So don't compare yourself to a person who's been online 10 years longer than you and has amassed a larger following than you have. My third tip is to not be afraid to niche down. I talked a little bit about what a niche is, but just to be known for a certain kind of thing. You don't have to do everything, like, and have a shop, and do prints, and pins, and have a Patreon, and do a YouTube channel, and have tutorials on a website somewhere. And the same goes for your art. You don't have to do and realistic painting and really cute art styles, la la la. Like, it's super okay to be known for something. In fact, that's probably in your favor because it makes you more memorable. That doesn't mean that you have to stick to one thing forever and that is your thing now. No, you can just change that up later. Just do whatever you want. There's a certain part of your audience who will move with that, and then you attract a new audience as well. So don't feel stuck in that, but also just embrace the thing. Embrace what you really love to do and what you would love to put out and what you would love to sell. Yeah, I was really afraid of niching down to just doing the comics thing, believe it or not, even though that was what I was doing. But I was like, yeah, but you know, I can help illustrators with their stories as well. And I know a lot about stories. So I did the whole personal project thing. But what is a personal project? It's not really that clear. And making comics is just much clearer. I'm actually better known for what I do now than I was before, even though people already followed me. But I truly wonder what they thought I was doing back then. But the comics thing, it's so much easier. People, if somebody on Twitter now goes, oh, I want to make a comic and I don't know how to go about it. And one of my followers, this actually happened before, one of my followers will see that and they will actually recommend me in the comments because I'm known as the comics person. So if you do really, really good art tutorials on your Patreon, for example, you can become known for the person who has really good art tutorials. And people are like, oh, I remember that person and I can recommend them in places. And the last point that I wanted to make is that it's absolutely fine to depend on a day job for a while you're building a business, even if it takes a longer time. And this doesn't mean that your business is failing. So the reason I was afraid to share this video is because it would hurt my credibility and that people would be less likely to trust me as a credible source for them to go to when they want to make comics. And my point in this video is to encourage you that it does take time. My business is only in the beginning stages. It is normal for it to take time. And for most people, it will take a few years at minimum. It doesn't mean that you're failing if your business, your shop, your Patreon, or even your social media isn't immediately taking off. So here it is, the video. I'm still glad I got it out of my chest. I really felt like I wanted to share this before moving on. I'm trying to get back into regular videos again. I'm working on new videos as we speak. I just really felt that I wanted to be open about this because it's not talked about much, especially not when we doubt ourselves. Like, we all put on a front on social media often. And I felt it was good to be open and honest about this. I actually don't know if you all want to see these kinds of business videos on my channel, because this is a comic making channel after all. If you're interested more in seeing the business side of things, or maybe even keep a little bit up to date on how my business is going, let me know in the comments. Or if you absolutely don't want to see that, also let me know in the comments. If you want to start making comics, I actually have a free resource for people that become subscribers of my email list. It is a checklist where you learn how to create a comic from scratch in 20 minutes a day. Go to pencilsandstories.com/extra to grab your copy. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, in the comments, let me know if you would like to see more of these types of videos. For now, have a great day and go and make some comics.